This is News Guardian. With Greg Aldridge and Chip Tarbun on WFJX Fox Radio 910.
Whoa! Hey, good morning. We're back.
Yes, after an extended vacation.
I did not, I have trouble with the vacations. I got up this morning like 5. I was ready for the show to start. It wasn't working for me. I worked through the vacation, so it wasn't even like a vacation. But I was ready for it to be gone.
Well, you're just a breath of sunshine this morning.
As always, this is the way it's going to be. Every morning I wake up in tyranny. This is the Greg you're going to get.
Fantastic.
If you want a different Greg.
We have Al here, too. Al, why don't you...
I'm going to just kind of brighten things up a little bit. Bring a little cheery disposition to the whole show. How about that?
I got some funny stuff.
Okay.
I mean, it's not all, but I do have some amusing things that we can make fun of, like that lady on MSNBC, the one who made fun of Mitt Romney. Now, I'm all for making fun of Mitt Romney. But if you're going to make fun of Mitt Romney, make fun of Mitt Romney for stuff that actually is deserving, not for the fact that he happened to have adopted a black child. That was not a good reason to make fun of Mitt Romney. But now she says that white NBA team owners are slave owners because she equates giving black basketball players $1 million jobs with slavery. Now, I don't even know what kind of disconnect the firings in one's brain have to have for you to think something as idiotic as that. But she does. We'll talk about that.
Wow. What can I say?
So did Barack Obama accidentally out a CIA bureau chief, or was it on purpose? They're all talking about, this was an accident. There are very few accidents in matters like this.
They tried to unring the bell.
And didn't Scooter Liddy go to jail because he supposedly did that?
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't actually do it. It was actually the guy from the Washington Post, not Scooter
All men
Liddy.
are created equal, just some people are a little bit more equal than others.
How about the cop? We're going to talk about a cop who did something really nasty in a Starbucks and got caught.
Uh-oh.
You're going to love this one. I told you we got some funny stuff. We got some really funny stuff. The other AM station is reporting how yesterday was Save Our Lost Girls Day. I'm sorry, I thought it was Memorial Day.
I guess because she's a victim, she gets to create her own holiday or glom on to Memorial Day. I mean, there's nothing against her loss, but Memorial Day is a day to, and a lot of people kind of mosh this together. There's a Veterans Day to celebrate veterans, and there's a Memorial Day which celebrates people who died serving the country. Last I checked.
That's what I thought. But evidently, we don't need to respect that.
Now, do we have some county stuff since Al is poised here with his usual? He's got his notebooks. He's got an iPad. He's got a cup of coffee.
Of course, there's county stuff. It's
ready to roll.
I'm just trying to look intelligent. I mean, I'm trying to fit into the other two guys here at the station, and so I just bring all this stuff to look good.
Well, the standard is very low, Al, so you're in good shape.
Okay.
Well, of course, in Roanoke County, you've got the budget going on right now. You've got bonds for the school thing they're doing down in Glenvar. You got a Plantation Road project, which I used to live on Plantation Road. I'm not sure what's wrong with Plantation Road that it requires millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of work. This seems asinine to me.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. We do have the budget. In fact, the final vote on the budget for 2014 to 2015 happens tonight. And we've done the first reading of it. I voted against it. I vote against this budget because it's going up. It's going up 2%, which is about $3.5 million. So we're going to be spending in the county $3.5 million more than we did in the last fiscal year. And I just see that by spending more money, we have done nothing to trim down or make government more efficient, and we're just spending more money. And once you raise the bar, we go up 2% this time, that becomes the new standard or the new level, the new norm for next year's budget. And so we just keep adding to it, and we got to be very careful. people are tuned out of this stuff, but the reality is that the money that the county spends is the people's money. So when you try to go buy something and you don't have enough money or you run out of money, realize that it's because somebody, like in the government, is spending it.
I think you're going about it all wrong. I say spend it. Let's flip this thing around. Forget. No. Don't just raise it by 2%. Raise it by 20%. Come on, guys. Y'all aren't trying.
Yeah, I know, really.
I mean,
raise
it so much that it bankrupts the damn thing.
But Greg,
and then you can actually put together, in the aftermath of the mess that it will be Roanoke County, then you can put together some responsible budgeting.
Yeah,
but
Greg,
don't pick and fight with him over $5 here and 0.5% there. Make it a 50% bigger budget. Come on, guys.
I'm sure
Let's do this thing.
Yeah, but I'm sure somebody on the federal level also said that $17 trillion ago, and we're $17 trillion in debt now, and you would think that would bust us down.
Oh, it will. But
we keep saying it will. But like my dad has been saying that for the last 20 or 30 years, it will, and it never does. The problem that it causes is it causes internal hemorrhaging, internal issues that no one really realizes. And we've discussed this before, that, the reason we can go into debt for our federal government so much and no one really realize any real pain is that I think our government, our land, our resources of America are being sold out underneath us to pay for that $17 trillion or to keep people quiet about it. And that's going to take a long time for people to actually realize that one day, we don't own anything anymore. We're slaves now to some other foreign entity. But those things are hard to understand. And when you go to a county level, believe me, I mean, the reality is we got to fight every day to
at the county level, though, you can pull it off because you can't print money. See, that's why the feds can keep this going longer than what's artificially longer than would be normal, is because they can print money and we can go that route for a while.
But Greg, I'll tell you, right now in Roanoke County, like we have debt of 100 and what is it, like 80 something million.
That's not enough. It needs to be 500.
The limit in Roanoke County is 250. Okay, so we could go another $70 million worth of debt, which could be another 10, 15 years of spending. See, and we could still pay for it out of the money that we get in. We could still make the payments. It's kind of like a credit card. When do you really get in trouble? Well, hey, you can just keep borrowing money as long as you can make that minimum payment. You don't want to get there. See, I think the problem is once you're there, that it just saps the resources of a community, and we start paying so much interest. It's a mess. But so anyway, the budget, we've got a long day today.
But that's what they deserve.
Yeah, but
Roanoke County voters, for putting these people in office, you deserve to be bankrupt.
But I've been hired.
You people deserve to have the bankers show up and take your buildings and your water slide. And
Wait. Now, at least in one district in Roanoke County, they did elect Al, who has some fiscal. Has been trying to do something. Now, I understand your crash the system stuff, but let's let Al...
No, it's not. Forget the crash the system for a moment. If they're going to vote for people like Charlotte Moore and Butch Church and these idiots, then they deserve it. Bankrupt the county. You all want everything under the sun and think that you can have it without actually paying for it? Then let's give it to them.
Well,
let's show them what that does.
Well, let's see what Al can do to maybe change so there's a little different way of running the county.
They're going to vote for the budget.
Yeah, they will vote for the budget. But here's the thing, Greg. It's
going
amazing.
to pass.
The stuff that people see in the newspaper, everybody always sees something. And even though people that say they don't believe it, they think that when it's written or they see it on television, that's kind of true. I have people emailing me all the time, texting me all the time, sending me emails, even writing little letters. There are a lot of people that don't think the way that we're going is right.
No. And so they're the minority.
There are people out there, and that's the people... I know that I'm going to lose a lot of battles, but the reality is that I want people to see that there is somebody there, and if they want to run next time for county supervisor, and I'm still here, it'd be great to have them join me. There are people that will say, wait a minute, guys. Yeah, it would be great to have all this stuff, but just like we do at home, hey, I got so many projects at home that I'd love to do, but I don't have the money right now, so I have to wait, and that's okay, and that's just like government. It's okay to wait.
I want to be there the day the bankers show up to lock down that water slide and take it away from the county. to pry that water slide away from the greedy and selfish hands of Roanoke County residents who think that forcing everybody else in their county to buy them a water slide is the right thing to do. I want to stand there with a camera and take a picture of the tears falling from their eyes as the bankers take their water slide from them. Because they deserve it, and worse.
Yeah. All right, next one more little topic, because you did go about this. They're also voting in the second vote on the $20 million bond, which basically is we're going into
That should
debt,
be
another
$100 billion.
That
should be $100 million, yeah.
To renovate Glenvar High School. And
if they love those children, they wouldn't just spend 20. They'd spend $50 million on those kids. Obviously, you all don't love the kids of Glenvar enough.
Did I come to the right show today? Yeah, okay, I did. But anyway, let me make one point about spending money though on schools, because I tell you, spending money on schools. I mean, if you talk about one emotional topic for a lot of people, it's about education. It's a schools. It's a school building. It's blah 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 blah. Now, I always tell people that since we homeschool our children and we spend $1,500 for the entire year for all 3 children that are being homeschooled, that's $500 a piece. And we get some of the best teachers. We do it online to see all that. We got the best teachers in the country that we're learning from. I have a very different perspective. I don't have a child in these schools, and the schools right now in Roanoke County, we spend $10,000 per student on the schools. But we're getting ready, and we will, because I'll be outvoted 4-1, to go into debt $20 million more for renovation on Glenvar. The actual project is $25 million. We're putting down $5 million, and we're going to go into debt $20 million.
The notion that you're going to buy a new school building with $5 million down in finance. This is like you're buying a Yugo. What are you buying, a Yugo?
It's not even a new building. We're just
$500 down will get you any car on the lot. Only $99 a month. I mean, what is this? This is not how government is supposed to operate. This is not how we're supposed to educate our children like it's the used car school lot. Come on. What is wrong with these people?
It is the way that governments do operate now. We basically go into debt and we keep chunking away at debt, and we add debt all the time. And anytime we want to do something, we go into debt and everybody agrees. It's just the way it's always been. And so, I think sometimes people say, well, Al, are you so controversial? I say, I'm not controversial. I'm just kind of logical. Now, the fact that I say something which is so against what everybody else does because they just think it's the normal thing to do, go into debt, and someone says, well, wait a minute, I don't think we should do this, you become controversial. So, anyway, but that's an issue. And again, like we said, I mean, parents, they'll just come and they're so sentimental about this. They got to have this new school or a renovation, $25 million, doesn't matter. And really, a school building has very little to do with education at all.
We got a break.
Yep.
We've got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll go on more about this, but also we'll find out what that cop did in a Starbucks that he got caught doing. I'm not even sure if I can say it on the radio. While we're on break, I'll figure out how to say this on the radio without the FCC coming after us. But you're not gonna believe what this cop did in a Starbucks. Seriously.
News Guardians on Fox Radio 910.
I knew there was no point to trying to educate him on the fact that he did not have the authority to tell other people what kind of house they could put on their land. But evidently, he thinks he does.
Are we on the air, Greg?
We are. Welcome back to News Guardians on Fox Radio 910.
There's no context to that conversation.
No, but now everybody's going to be wondering, what were they talking about?
Greg's favorite topic.
Zoning? Is that my...
Or least favorite topic, depending on how you put it.
Okay, so how do we talk about this? The headline says, cop allegedly caught, I can't say it.
Diddling?
Pleasuring himself in Starbucks. Will that work?
That works.
Okay, so a Camden, New Jersey officer has been removed for duty and charged with disorderly lewdness after police admit he was caught pleasuring himself in a Starbucks. I thought you couldn't take your gun to Starbucks.
Bump. I've read somewhere where people are starting to not want to shake hands with the people. This lends credence to that. Anybody else got a one-liner they want to throw out there for this?
No, I bring that up because of the gun debate, which we're going to rehab again now because of the shootings in California.
Well, an interesting thing about that shooting in California was the fact that I think he kill a couple people with a knife, and he ran over a couple people with his car, on top of the fact he shot them. I mean,
we need stricter car
BMW. How many children have to die before people stop driving BMWs?
That's not their mission. Their mission is to take away our gun rights. So, of course, they're not going to talk about the knife. They'll get around to that someday.
Yeah, but I mean, I just find it interesting if there's ever a case for the failure of modern society to raise children correctly, this would be the case. You have a rich, spoiled brat who's been in therapy since he was 8 years old with no moral compass, moral fiber, nothing. He's just a poor, wanton kid floating in the ether, playing violent video games and fantasizing about killing girls because he can't pick one up.
What about the failure to protect our children? I mean, I feel bad for all these people that died out there. Because this doesn't have to happen. You know, they've got this guy, Richard Martinez, whose son was one of the ones killed, and he's interviewed on TV with tears in his eyes. You don't think this will happen to your child until it does. How many have to die before they'll do something about gun laws? Look, how many have to die before you'll start protecting your children, people? If you're not going to protect your children, you don't deserve to have them. And putting them on a college campus where they can't defend themselves, telling them you're stuck here in this gun-free zone for law-abiding, we're going to basically create a crapshoot for anybody with a gun that wants to show up. They know they can come here and go unchallenged and murder people rampantly. Who thinks that's a good idea? They want to make the whole country that. They want to make sure that there's no place in this country where you can go and defend yourself so that all of us can equally be victims to perpetrators. Al?
Right. No. After that, well, you know, the whole thing I was going to say is that obviously, you know, murder is illegal. And yet, obviously, people that had that intent are going to go out there and find some way that they're going to kill somebody. Like you just said, they're either going to drive over them with a car, they're going to stab them, they're going to shoot them, whatever. The reality is if we just enforced and had some kind of enforcement of the laws, the basic laws that we should have on the books from the beginning of time that says, hey, there's a price to pay when you do something like this, and make sure that people know about it. We glamorize this stuff in a way. And so I think the reality, I mean, I'm so with you guys on this thing, is that, you know, we have the right to carry a gun to protect ourselves, to protect our families. And as the Constitution says, that one day, if our government does things that it should not be doing and infringing on those rights, that we have the right.
I hope the day our government starts doing things it shouldn't do never comes.
Never
really
comes, right? And you know what the reality? And I've always mentioned this though. The reality is we don't want to get to that point where we have a revolution. It just means that the whole experiment did not work. You know, we're trying to make it work without that. But the reality is that we do have those rights, and they shouldn't be infringed upon. There's other issues going on in people's minds when they go and murder, you know, 6 or 7 people like this, and it's happening on a daily basis now. I mean, just constantly happens, and has nothing to do with people having the rights to bear arms. You're going to have nuts that will do it no matter what.
Well, exactly. And the reason why so many die so often is because of the restrictions we've already put on the Second Amendment.
Correct.
Because we told all of those kids and all of those teachers and all of those workers on that college campus, you can't have a firearm.
Well, it was a gun-free zone. I mean, I'm sure they felt a lot safer because, I mean, I'm sure the deranged shooter was going to get most of them will show up and see the gun-free zone sign and say, well, gosh, I was going to commit a mass murder today with whatever weapon I have on, but I'm not going to do it now because it's a
sign.
Gun.
Yeah, and the idiotic logic of these people is they agree with you. That's why the whole country needs to be a gun-free zone, Chip, because then they wouldn't have a gun to bring into that gun-free zone because they would have had to come from a gun-free zone. They're going to take that same stupid logic and try to apply it to every square inch of this country. And they're using emotion to do it. I'm sorry for this gentleman's loss. But I'll stand face to face with him anywhere, anytime, and fight it out, fisticuffs if necessary, to stop him with this attitude he has that he can take somebody else's rights away because of what happened to him. That's not how it works. If he wants to see real violence, if you want to see real massive deaths, yeah, get rid of guns across the country. All across the country. Just eliminate the Second Amendment. Then you'll see how many deaths happen.
The safest
every
places in
day.
America are places with weak, lax gun control. Even there, gun control is violating the Second Amendment. But those places have the lowest rates of gun violence and violence in general of any place in the country. The place with the highest violence and gun deaths.
Strictest gun laws.
Strictest gun laws equal it's just a fact. And I know facts are things that liberals have a hard time with.
Uh-oh. Music.
We got a couple more stories, and we're going to talk about it. And then after we talk about it, we can get Al's reaction. We'll talk about your experience with Roanoke County Police.
Yes. If you, like me, drove through multiple checkpoints in the last week and had to show your papers to Roanoke County cops, we're gonna talk about that. Also,
it's just your driver's license, Greg.
Also, a politician who believes that we should have compulsory abortion for all Downs and spina bifida babies. We're going to talk about that.
Hitler would have liked that idea.
That was his idea, wasn't it?
I think you're right.
Wow. All right. You've got News Guardians. If you want to check us out on the internet, go to newsguardians.com. I'm Greg.
I'm Chip.
And we'll be right back after this.
Because right now you're the only thing that's making any sense to me, and I don't give a damn what they say or what they think. Because you're the only one who's on my mind. I'll never ever let.
This is News Guardians. News Guardians with Greg Aldridge and Chip Tarbun on WFJX Fox Radio 910.
And we are back. News Guardian Greg and News Guardian Chip. We are your News Guardians. Go to newsguardian.com and donate, because freedom ain't free. As Chef says, if we're going to keep this show on, unfortunately, money makes everything happen. And while it is the root of all evil, it is also the resource necessary to get the good work done.
And if you're interested, if you're in a business and like to have us talk to our ever-growing audience, we can certainly talk about advertising on our show, which would be even better.
Yeah. Hey, look what it's done for Ben Mountain Bistro.
They're making money hand over fist at Mountain Bistro because of
they'd be making money if
the food is really good. But
they'd be making money if the oven wouldn't break down, and if the county, the state wasn't making them put in a $30,000 global warming compliant septic tank. And the restaurant has has now got great customer base. They got a lot of people coming in there to eat, and the government is making sure that it sucks every dime away from it that it possibly can.
They didn't build that.
Actually, he did build that. I watched him. I watched him and Dwayne for a year with their own two hands lay masonry, do carpentry.
They couldn't have done it without the roads and the free education they got from whatever school they got, and the whatever else the government does for them.
Do you want me to smack you?
No. So when we were on break, we were talking about a story that I thought the listeners might find interesting.
Okay, so here's the quote. Let's see if I've got the quote from him, because this is just
priceless.
Yeah. The part, maybe, no, I don't have the actual quote he said, but Jeffrey Clark, who was hoping to win a seat on the Kent County Council, wrote on his website that babies with disabilities are a burden if born, and he believes compulsory abortion for those babies should be the law.
Oh, fantastic. So eugenics, it's not just for Nazis anymore.
Nope, it's hitting the political mainstream, evidently.
I did a presentation last week, and one of the things I talked about was the importance of individual liberty and protecting the rights of individuals. And this is exactly this whole corporate mentality that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. This is what leads to that. If you think that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, then it's perfectly okay to kill, abort children because they don't meet your standard for genetic purity.
I found the quote. He says that the review should re-examine the pregnancy abortion time limit. Consider compulsory abortion when the fetus is detected as having Down, spina bifida, or similar syndrome, which, if born, will render the child a burden on the state as well as the family. So, yes, Dr. Spock.
Mr. Spock. Dr. Spock's the one that had the baby book. Mr. Spock is the one that had the quote.
Yes, Mr. Spock. If the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and that's your operating principle, then death to the babies who might have genetic defects.
I know a number of parents who have Down syndrome children, and I don't believe they feel like they're a burden on them. I think they feel that they're blessed, that God's blessed them with a beautiful child who's just different than their other kids and has different blessings that brings to their family.
But I want people to think about it. If you're in the sound of our voice right now, and your operating principle if you believe in that foundational principle that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one, then understand you believe in this. You believe in the principle that this is founded on.
Eugenics was what the Nazis did. They wanted to create a pure Aryan race to free of any kind of pollution from things they didn't like. So
look, it doesn't just take Nazis. We had this nonsense going on in the United States in the middle of the 20th century.
Absolutely. But I mean,
we got rid of this idea already.
Nazi children were encouraged to have sex as much as possible so they could create as many kids as possible, as long as they were, pure Aryan race. And if they weren't, then they would certainly have been perfectly okay with an abortion, because that would have, if it wasn't, if it was tainted with. I mean, this is what you're basically talking about. You're talking about eugenics, because in a society where you and I are paying for everybody's health care, we have a vested interest in what we spend. And if I have to spend an inordinate amount of your tax money on this, then I have a say in what your right to life is. I mean, that's basically the argument they're saying. And if you go far enough down that road without thinking about the individual liberty issue, it starts to make sense. Well, yeah, I guess that could make sense. I mean, look how much there's limited resources, and wow, I mean, if we could save, so we could put that towards kids who could have a better chance at a better life. I mean, you can make it all sound very, very, very moral and very wonderful, until you realize that you're basically condemning people to death because of their physical condition.
Well, and I've been trying to explain that principle, the way you're talking about that, since we went through Hillary Care 20 some years ago. And it still doesn't seem to sink into people. I was trying to explain to people, look, if we're going to have socialized medicine, and I'm now going to have to be paying for you by force, then I want to be able to say what you can eat, and how often you exercise, and what kind of risk you put yourself in. I mean, you are now, if you're going to obligate me for your care, then I'm going to have to take responsibility for it. So you can't have it both ways. You can't have somebody else paying for everything and then think that you're going to get away with just still doing whatever you want whenever you want. It doesn't work that way.
It always, the Nazis loved gun control. The Nazis loved eugenics. The Nazis had nationalized health care. I mean, everybody gets their panties in a twist when you say that, but these are quantifiable facts. And Nazi is short for, in German, National Socialist Party. They were socialists. They believed in corporate cronyism. There's a wonderful book, if you want to read it, if you're a history geek, called The Arms of Krupp. It's by William Manchester, and it basically describes how the corporations in Germany worked hand in hand with the Nazis after World War I to rebuild industry and start the war machine that would start World War II. And it wasn't Krupp was the big arms manufacturer in Germany. They made tons and tons of money with government contracts, and they turned a blind eye to all the bad stuff the Nazis were doing because, well, they were making plenty of money.
They were making money, yeah.
So corporations work. Everybody gets all, oh, how dare you compare me to a Nazi? Well, you're acting like one, so I guess if you're going to act like one, I should call you one. Sorry.
Wow, and I thought I was the crazy one this morning. Look at you.
I'm not crazy.
Come along with me, Chip, on my journey to...
If you're going to be a Nazi, just call yourself a Nazi. Quit wrapping it around. I guess they're smart, because from a corporate relations standpoint, calling yourself a Nazi just doesn't have the right ring. So you got to wrap it around, a rainbow flag and a lot of nice talk about how you care about people, except for the people who are handicapped, and then we kill them.
So just for the record, eugenics bad. Is that the News Guardian position this morning?
I would say that. Well, think about this: if you had, you wouldn't need 80 anymore if you just got rid of everybody that had a disability. I mean, just kill them all. I mean, that would be better for society, right?
Well, under the principle of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, yes. If that's the principle that you're going to use to justify things, then yes. Then that should extend to people with eyesight issues, because eye care is expensive. Why have to produce glasses?
Right.
If you have hearing impairment,
or and especially if you're a conservative, because that's obviously a mental condition that's made you
exactly
unfunctional in society.
Because if you're people like us who make it harder for people like them to operate and get what they want, well, then we're causing more resources to have to be expended. So you should get rid of people who believe in liberty, because we get in the way and we cost more resources to the state, who has to fight us to get these things. So get rid of patriots.
I've had arguments with people before that have told me, liberals who have adamantly said, government, you have no natural rights. Government confers your rights to you. Well, I said, if that's true, then 51% of people can
choose to get rid of you.
He's like, well, that would never happen because we're liberals and we love people.
No, I'm sorry. You're liberals.
Love people that agree with you.
You think you love people, but you treat them as if you hate them. And you're not even smart enough to see that. You don't even have the brain power to figure out that while you're feeling all warm and fuzzy, lovey, and I love everybody and take care of everything, that the means with which you apply that is hateful and a horrible way to treat people.
I'm sure the parents of the guy who committed those murders in California thought they were being good parents when they sent him to therapy at 8 and, let him grow up in a privileged, spoiled manner. Just treated him like, I'm sure they felt that he were doing a really good job. And they really loved him. I'm sure they did. But they didn't do a very good job of it. Because when you don't grow up with any kind of, if you don't have any kind of constraints on your ability, if you don't have parents that, you're going to end up, this is what society looks like. With freedom means responsibility. If you have a whole generation with no responsibility, raised on liberal ideals, you get this.
Well, and Richard Martinez, the father who spoke on TV about his son who got shot in those, he probably thinks that he's being loving and caring by demanding to take away our guns. There's a disconnect in these people between the love that they feel and the responsible treatment of other people in pursuit of that.
So the 12-gauge shotgun I have stashed in a place where I can get to in about 2 seconds in my house, if you break into my house, is somehow a threat to him.
I don't know. No, he's not.
It's only a threat that he breaks into my house.
He's not thinking. He lost his son, and he's in grief, and he's expecting, he's looking at the solution that to him is staring him in the face, and that's getting rid of the gun that did it. All other considerations, all other facts, everything else that actually makes up what would change this situation doesn't exist for him. What exists for him is taking the firearm out of everybody's hand, and then there's no way it can happen. That's what's going on in his head.
Greg, we do know the needs of the many do outweigh the needs of the few.
The needs of our advertisers outweigh the needs of us to talk to you between the ads. So we're going to take another break. I'm Greg. This is the News Guardians, and you're listening to Fox Radio 910.
News Guardians on Fox Radio 910.
And we're back. And Al's back with us. Glad to have you back in here.
Absolutely. Great to be back.
We're back to talking about Roanoke County issues. We'll put the rest of this away for tomorrow. And so you know, tomorrow, News Guardian Chip will be here with News Guardian Elizabeth. It'll be the Chip and Elizabeth show on Wednesday. And then I will return on Thursday, hopefully, with not only Chip, but also candidate for United States Senate, Tony DeTora. We're going to try to have him live in the studio with us on Thursday. And on Thursday, we will talk about what Jim Webb is saying about the VA hospital catastrophe. We'll save it for Thursday. And what? And what?
The story we talked about.
I don't remember what it was. We can't hear you. All right, so Al, let me ask you about this.
Okay.
Twice in the last week, I have been stopped at a roadblock by Roanoke County police officers.
And you deserve it.
Asking to see my papers.
Yes.
Now, let me tell you, I'm going to give you just a real brief description of these two interchanges. The first one was on Buck Mountain Road. And I pulled up. They were stopping every car going both directions. And I pulled up, and he said, "I need to see your driver's license." And I said, "Have am I being accused of a crime, or do you have a suspicion that I've committed a crime? No, we're just checking everybody's licenses. And I said, well, do I have to show you my papers then if I'm not suspected of anything? And he goes, yes, the Constitution says so. This is what the cop said to me. He told me the Constitution said that he could stop me and ask to see my ID. Now, I was on the way to pick up the children from school. And I did not have the time to assert my rights with this police officer.
You wanted to be in a good mood when you picked up your
phone. And you know, have to get my car out of impound, bond myself out of jail, because that's the way those things end. If I assert my rights, he's going to drag me out of the car and arrest me for obstruction of justice. And so there's no other way that's going to go if I'm not willing to become violent in defense of myself.
Then that was the county police.
That was county police,
okay.
Yes. Then again, the Roanoke County Police stopped me on the Parkway. At the Parkway entrance, they were checking traffic going both ways. Now, they had a ranger with them because it's a federal road. But it was Roanoke County and the feds checking traffic going. And they did this. Now, this time, he said, I wasn't going to say anything because I was in a hurry. I was trying to fix some plumbing. I did not have time to argue my rights with the cop. I had my driver's license out, handed it to him. I was not going to get into a discussion with him until he said, how are you today? I said, well, I'd be better if I weren't having to show a police officer my papers. And he said, well, it's not your papers, it's your license. And I said, well, actually, that's what your papers are. They are your identification that shows address, your legal status. That's what your papers are. And I would hope that you could understand how I might feel this way about it. But no, he didn't understand. I was ruining his day. Now, I know it's not the cop's fault. The policeman is not the one that set that policy. That's his job. He showed up for work that day. He's not going to bring, into his job, evidently, a sense of right and wrong with respect to people's rights and the Constitution and that kind of thing. He's going to do what he's told.
Right.
And I believe that the Roanoke County Board of Supervisors has the authority, since we don't have a sheriff in charge of our police in Roanoke County. The police are a police department, and they operate at the pleasure of the county, and that's the Board of Supervisors. I think you all can tell them to stop that.
Yeah, well, you know what? At the meeting tonight, I'll talk to Chief Hall, who's the head of county police, and ask him how we're doing that and what authority we're doing that on, and see what he says. And I think that's a good, that's a good.
Get him to give you some paperwork. We'll compare, because I know what he's going to say. I already know where they think the justification comes. I can even tell you where the money's coming from, because that's one of the ways that this has been done. Is there's grant money given to local departments to pay for the resources necessary to run these, and they're doing more and more as time goes on. And the police department wants the grant money because it's more jobs, it's more money, our rights are out the window.
Greg, you're the constitutional expert amongst us. So now I know you didn't have a chance to ask the question, but the first stop where he said it's in the Constitution, what part of the Constitution is that actually in? I'm just curious that you can be stopped without any probable cause.
Well, it's not in the Constitution. And in the Bill of Rights, which are amendments to the Constitution, there's actually one that says you can't do that. And that would be contained in the Fourth Amendment. However, hey,
of course, as one of our listeners pointed out, this is not Al Bedrosian's opinion, by the way. This is Chip's opinion. The police,
thank you.
The county police chief did come from the People's Republic of Maryland. So
yes, he did. Baltimore, yeah.
Oh, great.
So that was Chip, by the way, not endorsed by anybody else.
All right. Well, as we get to the end here, if I could just say just a couple of last words, and I will ask Chief Hall that he's a nice guy. So let me find out where.
I'm not doubting that part of it. The problem is that nice people have been pushed way over the line into thinking that things are okay that are not okay.
You are correct, Greg. And I made that comment. You are exactly right. There are a lot of good people in government doing things that they really shouldn't be doing, and they don't really know it, and they don't know why. That's what you do. And when you talk about grant money, you follow the money, and you do find out why people do certain things that they do. Just a reminder, too, to everybody today that, we have a Roanoke County meeting today, and today is a 3 o'clock session. Then there's a work session that we'll have, and then we'll have a 7 p.m. session. So you can really come anytime, and all those are open to the public. I also just let people know that a lot of times there'll be controversy about things that people say in public office. So my website, www.Bedrosian, the number 4, supervisor.com is what I used when I was running, has a link to my YouTube channel and everything. So every speech that I give that's out in public and it can be videotaped, I post it up there. So if people want to know, what did Al really say about that instead of going to some other authority? Hey, just listen for yourself. It'll be right there, and the words will be coming out of my own mouth.
I've watched it. It's better than television.
Yeah.
People turn the TVs off.
That's right.
And get on Al's YouTube site. It's some interesting stuff.
Yeah. So, agree or disagree, but at least we're agreeing or disagreeing on what is actually said. So
now,
I think
for people that want to go to the meeting, they need to know that it is in the County Administration Building, which is behind 419 West on 419.
Right. And, some people think it's so complicated. 3 p.m. we start the session. And then there's a session that goes on from 3 p.m. to whatever, maybe 4:30 or so. There's a break. Then there's a work session. And today it's on the whole internet taxing issue. So, so we're going to have a little work session on that. And then we're going to go back at 7 p.m. And that's when we have, like, public hearings and stuff tonight, and which is all good stuff. And we're voting on the budget. You know what? You can come for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, stay for an hour. It doesn't really matter.
Can you bring signs? Because I want to bring my sign that says 2% is not enough. 2% is not enough.
I guess you can do what you want to do. Just be civil. Okay. That's all. And I don't know you. No, I don't know.
I'm a lot more civil in public meetings than I am. In fact, when I go to public meetings, typically I get assaulted. I'm not the one doing the assaulting.
Right, and we can do it civil in America. I mean, that's what it's about here. This great representative republic we have, it should be done very civilly, and let's express ideas. Most of the times, people aren't expressing their ideas. They're just starting to shout and scream and yell. Let's talk about ideas. That'd be good.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so that's 3 o'clock is the early session,
right.
And then 7?
Then 7 o'clock, and in between there'll be a work session. That's on the 4th floor, and again, anybody is invited to any of those. And I'll be there, so you just find me and say, hey, Al, and that'd be good. All
right, so we got the budget, the Plantation Road project, the school bonds for Glenvar's reconstruction, right. A special use permit for Chick-fil-A, yep. And some administrative procedures all on the docket for today if you want to get involved in your Roanoke County government.
Yeah, and that administrative one, too, just as you mentioned, that's very important. That's where they're trying to limit how much time you can spend talking about an issue.
I'm going to call this the Al Bedrosian bill because I think it's specifically designed so Al can't talk. They just want to limit how much time Al can talk at these meetings.
And it is silly because, we should, we only meet once every other Tuesday. I mean, we should have all the time in the world just talk about things. I mean,
nope, because they don't like what you say, so they're going to pass a law to shut you up. Maybe. I'm Greg.
I'm Chip.
This is the News Guardians, and Chip and Elizabeth will be here 8 o'clock in the morning with you on Fox Radio 910.